They party, posting pictures and videos all night long. They usually find out about the parties in the first place through social media, because this is the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube generation. If they live it, they post it.
Rhythm, boy. Rhythm.
And lately, young people are posting videos of themselves and their friends huffing balloons full of nitrous oxide, nicknamed Nas.
Here is the tank.
Nas has been around for over 200 years, used back then as an anesthetic, although it was widely abused even in the early 1800s. Frequently called laughing gas, nitrous oxide is no laughing matter. When users huff it, they're sucking something into their systems which can cause hypoxia, oxygen deprivation. Excessive use can be fatal.
It's really disturbing, and frankly, as a parent, it's very unsettling to see what's going on.
The LA County Sheriff's Department is wise to Nas. Here at ECOM, the Electronic Communications Unit, social media is monitored 24 hours a day for all sorts of dirty doings. A special team checks out parties that encourage underage drinking, drugging, and nosing. Since posting online has become so second nature, no one imagines they're being policed.
They're on Instagram because it's a phone-only thing, so they can put it out real easy while they're out and about.
They are the party promoters who mass invite thousands, hoping hundreds will show up. The promoters charge illegal admission and sell either drugs, alcohol, and Nas, or all three.
The promoters will start going onto other people's pages where they're saying, like, looking for a party. The promoter will just jump in and post their party on somebody else's comment.
Right? Are you finding that they're giving the address out later and later?
Yes, absolutely.
A new tactic to keep ahead of the new unit. Lately, the Sheriff's Department has been showing up as unwelcome guests and potentially breaking up the party, depending on what they find. So now, promoters tend to withhold the location until late, hoping police will go to the first addresses and not have time to get to the ones posted later. Parties are held anywhere from private residences to warehouses. When they're at houses, parents are often out of town, working nights, or just clueless about what's up.
I've talked to quite a few parents going to some of these events, and they think they have helium at their house. You know, the common, oh, I just thought they had helium and they were blowing balloons up, and no, it's not helium.
Then there's the danger with the tank itself.
It is a compressed gas inside of a tank, and if somehow, some way, that nozzle is knocked off of that tank, you basically have a torpedo. Who's 18? 18 with ID.
But that lightness turns heavy in just an instant as deputies realize people are hiding in another room.
Right here, they just found a few really big nitrous oxide tanks that were being hidden behind this couch.
We found 4 tanks at this place, and one of them is really large. It's probably a 65-pound tank, and that's 65 pounds of gas, but the tank probably weighs, over 100 pounds.
Well, it's 1 a.m. in the morning, and this sheriff's unit has disrupted 3 of these kinds of parties tonight, but you just have to wonder how many of these parties go on every night in LA.
And who are these party promoters who borrow and rent the places, charge admission, sell the Nas? On this Saturday night, it's just a voice on the other end of a cell phone that's likely to be quickly disconnected.
Do you own this property? This next party is at a residence. It's on the north end of town, and it is definitely a house party, and we're seeing that they're advertising alcohol and charging admission. Hey, take your hands out of your pocket. It's your party?
There's actually not very many people here.
But it looks like plenty were expected. There's a big sound setup, a porta potty, and 4 Nas tanks, one dangerously tossed out of the tent as deputies arrived.
We've had shootings based on they fill up the balloon, they're waiting in line, someone walks by with a cigarette, it pops their balloon. And at parties where it's a heavy concentration of gang members, that's an issue if someone doesn't want to replace the balloon that they just popped.
Big hair, big smiles, big pom-poms, a little strutting, and a few high kicks. This is cheerleading, old school style. And this is new school cheerleading, with gravity-defying flips, precision people pyramids, and dramatic basket tosses. Think gymnastics meets Cirque du Soleil. This sort of stunting started taking off in the early 80s when competitions were first televised.
A little shaky on the shoulder stands there.
By the year 2000, cheering had changed so much, Hollywood noticed and made the cult film Bring It On, about the high-flying hijinks of high school contests.
Why does everyone have to go on a diet?
Because in cheerleading, we throw people in the air, and fat people don't go as high.
How high? In hundreds of competitions held year-round all over the country, flyers are thrown 10, 15, even 20 feet in the air. Researchers even did an experiment on the show Sports Science, measuring the speed of a cheerleader tossed up 20 feet by her UC Irvine teammates.
Here we go.
A crash test dummy was then dropped from the same height to determine that if a flyer wasn't caught, the impact would be a body-crushing 2,000 pounds. These competitive cheerleaders, called all-stars, have inspired sideline cheerers to ratchet up their routines to be flashier. High school and college sideline squads now do similar stunts during games on hard, unforgiving surfaces, not on mats like at all-star competitions. Videos of falls are posted all over the internet. Here, a group of high schoolers promote cheerleading tryouts doing tricks on concrete.
1, 2.
The old cliche warning, "Don't try this at home, kids," definitely applies to this group of girls.
Don't fall forward.
Not too surprisingly, emergency room visits for cheerleaders have skyrocketed.
Incredibly, cheerleading accounts for 66% of all catastrophic injuries among high school female athletes. Yet, don't forget, by and large, it's not considered a sport.
You heard right. Unlike football or other sports, cheerleading is rarely classified as a sport by school districts and universities. The result is that coaching, training, and safety measures are haphazard at best. The American Academy of Pediatrics recently studied the injuries and issued a report recommending that cheerleading can be made safer if it becomes an officially sanctioned sport.
Patty, are you ready?
The parents of Patty Pamaniwong fled Laos after the Vietnam War. They didn't know much about cheerleading when their 17-year-old daughter started doing it in her senior year of high school. Since she was light and little, Patty was at the top of pyramids and started doing flying stunts. Patty's parents are her sole caregivers. They take turns sleeping in short shifts.
So you don't catch cold.
Patty is never, ever left alone.
When husband go out, wife stay home. When wife go out, husband have to stay home, take care of Patty. Anything she want, we do for her. We do for her. We love her.
Kimberly Archie is a former cheerleader, the mother of a daughter who started cheering as a child and a son who played football as a kid. She was gung-ho in support of both activities until her daughter, then 15, was hurt at practice.
My daughter Tiffany had a double compound fracture, and she had to have surgery and have a metal plate and 8 screws put in her arm. And if she wanted to continue to cheer, we had to leave the metal plate in, otherwise the arm would be too weak.
Previously, she'd taken other girls to the hospital and was recognized by a doctor there.
And he said, "Aren't you the cheer mom that brought another kid here? Like, what are you guys doing? What are you thinking?"
Certification as a cheer coach is overwhelmingly done online in just a few hours for a modest fee.
What type of coach are you?
Put it up nice and sharp, okay?
Lauren Heisen is the coach at Yucaipa High School, two-time USA National Cheer Champs. She has 15 years experience, is certified in first aid, CPR, and she's been trained in using a defibrillator.
Beautiful.
In short, she's what a coach should be.
Good.
Every summer, she continues to hone her skills at a camp run by Dave Kirshner, a former cheerleader turned consultant. Kirshner is a stickler for safety. He insists that cheering can be done without injury if it's done smartly.
1, 2.
Warming up, always using mats, and learning skills in progressions. There's even an app for that. Dave created it. During this night's practice, the only close call was with our photographer.
Sorry.
I got a little too close.
Are you okay?
No, okay.
High-end magazines filled with classy photos of professionally staged layouts of lovely homes. But there's none of that in this book. Life at Home in the 21st Century is the anti-architectural digest. Not House Beautiful, but House Bountiful, where typical middle-class families live. Homes where cats jump on tables and laundry is stored in a shower stall. Professor Jean Arnold is an ethnoarchaeologist, the lead ologist of a dozen other UCLA archaeologists, psychologists, and anthropologists who collaborated for 10 long years researching the book. Ethnoarchaeology is the study of the social organization of present-day societies on the basis of material culture. And are we ever a material culture? 32 Los Angeles area families participated in the landmark study, offering up their homes for the sake of science.
We were interested in two-earner families that had school-aged children in the 8 to 12 bracket, and either a second or a second and third child in the family.
The better to research hectic lives of how people really live. No staging allowed.
Our society has the most material possessions per household in global history. So we're at the apex of people that desperately needs rituals for cleansing.
The direct result of rituals for acquiring. New things come with every holiday, birthday, and anniversary, so families end up with huge amounts of stuff. On counters and shelves, on dining tables, stuff in garages and home offices, on floors, on refrigerator doors, stuff stacked on top of other stuff. The fieldwork alone took 4 years, starting in 2001. 2 videographers shot in each home for up to 18 hours a day, 2 weekdays, 2 weekend days. Families were instructed to ignore the cameras.
Fold it like this.
A third researcher counted visible objects in each room.
Bringing it across.
Family photos on display, an average of 85. Home offices, typically over 2,000 non-paper items. Garages, 50 to 700 objects. Refrigerator doors hold an average of 52 doodads. And remember, that's just visible objects. The researchers also kept track of where everyone was and what they were doing every 10 minutes. Saliva samples were taken 3 times a day to determine what's called cortisol levels, an indicator of stress.
Come on, we gotta go. Hold the door behind you. Last one out.
Past studies about material culture allowed people to self-report information, resulting in that old research bugaboo, human error.
We're not good at portraying what we really do.
In the nearly 9 years since they were studied, the Spickers still have the same furniture, from an antique china cabinet to a modern display unit.
There's your non-dusty Barbies.
My dad.
Except for that kitchen remodel, it's essentially the same place. But another family changed everything. The family that once had 97 items on the refrigerator door now has a hidden dishwasher and fridge. The family photos are off the wall and in the computer. The toy tower stands only in videos of when the girls were little.
There was a real generosity of spirit, I think, that we saw in the families who chose to participate.
Would you, knowing your house, have allowed all these ologists to come in as you did these people's?
I don't think so. I think I'm just too private of a person.
That's the end of our play.
What's your name?
People can have psychotic episodes, screaming at demons only they see, dangers only they feel.
Dude, he's trying to hit him. He's trying to hit him, look.
He's just trying to attack people.
I know. They can get violent, lashing out at themselves or at strangers, picking fights with parked cars, damaging property.
He's dangerous, though. He is.
He's dangerous, absolutely. They're often oblivious to the risks they take, climbing barefoot under a high bridge, rolling around, literally rolling around in traffic on a busy street. The drug makes the heartbeat accelerate so high, the internal body temperature sizzles, so stripping seems like the best way to cool off. Who knows what inner impulse then makes somebody want to jump between cars? The inaptly named drug bath salts is suspected of being behind all of these strange and scary incidents.
Did you take the whole bottle of salts?
Although bath salts is the main name, there's lots of other slang for the drug. Everything from bubbles to bonsai fertilizer. It's made with scads of harmful synthetic chemicals, most often MDPV, short for something pretty unpronounceable. The federal government banned these ingredients in July of 2012, but all a manufacturer has to do to circumvent the law is tweak a few molecules to get an entirely new formula, so it's still out there. But what would a smart, pretty, talented young woman know about one of the scariest drugs around?
Did you ever think that you would become addicted to bath salts?
Not in a million years. I never thought that any drug would ever be able to overcome every aspect of my life the way that bath salts did.
And a privileged life at that. 2 years ago, 21-year-old Hannah Gross was a happy, normal college student. She was raised by loving grandparents she calls and considers her mom and dad. Hannah seldom left the house, rarely left her room, rarely ate or slept. Since she vehemently denied being on drugs, her parents sent her to a psychiatrist, afraid that she was bipolar, like someone else in the family. In the midst of the mania, Hannah felt compelled to write about what was happening.
When I wrote, I would hear voices threatening me. Don't write that down about us. Don't give us out to anybody. Don't turn us in. We'll have you killed. So writing was my salvation at the time, and I almost became afraid to do that anymore.
As she was writing, something so strange happened. Hannah was suddenly able to write backwards.
When you see it without a mirror, it looks completely illegible.
Yeah, you can't tell at all what you're writing.
Yeah, it just looks like scribbles, but then if it's in a mirror, all of a sudden you can read it.
It says, "Why would you do that to me? Why?" Do you remember who you were asking that question to?
Yeah, all the voices that were calling me crazy, and I was convinced that it was their fault that I was crazy.
This video tour of a neat, well-ordered home is being marketed to a specific sort of client, someone who needs a place to live short-term because the renter will be nearly full-term, a birth tourist. In the case of this video being given in Mandarin, a Chinese birth tourist is the target audience, someone who will come here on a tourist visa for the express purpose of giving birth on American soil. In Southern California, birth tourism hotels have become an underground cottage industry, mostly in the San Gabriel Valley in predominantly Asian communities. Although women also come from other countries, China still has a one-child-only policy, which motivates parents to Plan B, a visit to the U.S. in the final months of pregnancy. The birth tourism hotels make it easy and appealing, offering all-inclusive packages starting at $3,000 to $4,000 a month. This site promotes many of the usual places people like to see in Southern California, but the newborn will return to China with something extra, a U.S. passport. Lawyer John Kang specializes in immigration issues. He has nothing to do with the birth tourism hotels, but he offered to navigate and translate some of the Chinese websites for me.
If you look at this article, on top of it, there's a picture. A picture shows some baby cribs in a room. How many do we have here? Six or seven baby cribs in one room, and there's one lady standing behind there. It looks like she's the designated person to take care of these babies. That's the house, this picture.
3-car garage, 2 or 3 levels. It's a big house.
It is a big house. This website is Chinese in LA, and if I click the last page, we'll see we have a total of 16 pages.
Wow, that's amazing.
There should be at least 100 or more of these maternity hotels in Los Angeles County alone.
But exact numbers are elusive, even impossible to determine. Places aren't licensed, there are never any outdoor signs, and although interiors are set up for multiple tenants, exteriors of the hotels are just typical homes in typical neighborhoods. This house, for example, is set up for birth tourism, but the only indication is the preponderance of pregnant women coming and going.
Hello.
Hello.